It is, a great day in the neighborhood where I am, you know, a year younger than you for a while, another couple of days, and that makes me happy.
It'll make me happy when when you're older and wiser.
Older and wise, I'll never catch you there. It's
But
painful.
at least we'll be in the same year. We'll both be in our 80th year.
Yeah, well, it'll take me another couple of years to get there, Larry. Remember, I'm 2 years younger than you. But this,
Oh,
but right now,
ooh, I thought,
no, right now I'm 3 years younger than you
oh wow, so you're a kid.
until Sunday. Yeah, yeah.
You'll still be a kid on Sunday.
Well, okay. So I was just seeing just before I came on, Kim Kardashian must be a Republican, or maybe she just likes Elon a lot. She put up some new postings of her Cybertruck and her Optimus robot. She's the only one that's got one. So she and her Optimus and her Cybertruck, and good timing, right? I mean, she's adding to the amazing amount of publicity right now.
I thought I mean, that's amazing. She's standing up for what she believes, I guess. She's standing up for for rights. It's very distressing to see the damage that's being done and the nastiness about it. And, I was in a meeting this morning, Randy, of a lot of technologists. And, some guy spouted off about now that Elon's a Nazi and is making all these Nazi signs and he's making all these Nazi statements. I mean, everybody on the call is just too nice to, confront him. But I mean, he said it blithely like it's real, like it's just everybody knows it. It's incredible.
It,
Just
it, would-
incredible.
it would it would almost make sense. You could almost, somehow, get emotionally inside or be empathetic with that person's point of view if it wasn't for the fact that virtually every single thing that the President Trump, his bro buddy, is doing is so pro-Israel. I mean, just day after day after day, all the stuff at Columbia right now, Columbia University.
But you got to understand. You got to understand. The Jews in Colombia are Nazis, and Hamas is like the liberal savior.
Yes, yes.
I mean, the world is upside down.
Upside down, absolutely upside down. It makes no
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, it's incredible.
I,
Anyway,
I know. So
let's get off politics. What
we'll
the
get off
hell?
of that for now, huh? Okay, all right. So let's go back to what?
By the way, you're the guy who's always looking at stock prices, and I try and humor you, but the stock is back at $250. I thought you'd raise that as the headline.
Well, I was until Kim. I mean,
Uh,
Kim Kardashian
uh,
was the headline.
Kim, yeah, well,
I mean, I
she
got nothing.
gazumped him.
I'm not interested in Kim Kardashian myself. Never. I don't actually think she's that great looking, but it is a headline, and she does make headlines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she does. She
All right. So
does.
now we can go to the sub headline. Tesla
Yeah.
is back at 249.95.
Well, after hours is 250.56
Okay,
actually.
okay, okay.
That's why I thought you'd be celebrating because we're
I
at
am.
250,
Yeah,
literally.
it's
Yeah.
great. It's great. I like it.
At least for the moment. Probably 210 tomorrow. It's like crazy.
Well, if it drops tomorrow, Larry, it'll be a miracle because tomorrow's Saturday.
You got me.
Even
You
Robin
got
Hood, even
you got
Rob,
me.
even
Okay.
Robin Hood is closed tomorrow.
I've been traveling all week. I don't know which day it is, to be honest. And I sat on the plane. I very seldom travel by plane. I swore off traveling by plane
Oh,
when I finally retired from the last company I created. And I I I again I again learned why I never fly anymore. We get on the plane in Tampa, Florida, sit in there, plane pushes back on time. I mean, perfectly on time. And it's a pity because I'm in a meeting that I'm trying to follow, and the meeting runs until 10:30. The flight boards at 10, supposed to take off like 10:15. I'm going to miss the last piece of the meeting. Well, it pushes back. The pilot starts taxiing out. He said, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we're on time. We pushed back on time. The bad news is we've got an hour wait on the tarmac.
An hour on the tarmac.
And what he didn't say was the real bad news. Two screaming kids in the row next door to me. Screaming. I mean, there was something wrong with these kids. They were each, every couple of minutes, screeching at their lungs, not in unison, but they were trading off.
Yeah, well,
And,
I hear you. I've been
and
on
I felt so bad for those parents, man. They were struggling with those kids, struggling.
I have I feel you. I have been on that flight.
Yeah, yeah,
So now you've been traveling around, Larry, and you told me that you've been wearing your SpaceX t-shirt wherever
yeah.
you go. I mean, you're a guy who drives a Cybertruck and it's okay. We're not worried about people using some finger or something. I don't know what they mean by that. But you've been running around with that SpaceX t-shirt. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I can't tell you how many people stop me and say, what a great t-shirt. Now it's very, I mean, the SpaceX logo is really nice, but SpaceX is in the news a lot.
Yeah.
It's very, it's white on black, it's quite dramatic, and it's a pretty logo.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many people I lost track after 10. And I was, in Austin and I was in St. Pete. And wherever I walked around, people say, "Oh, nice T-shirt. Do you work for SpaceX?" No, no. Oh, I'd love to work at SpaceX. That's kind of the banter that goes for the most part. Some people just say nice T-shirt. Every Uber driver, every Uber driver, and I think I don't know how many Ubers, maybe with one or two exceptions, every nice shirt. Wow.
So it's not everybody out there then that is having a problem with at least SpaceX. So it was probably much more limited than we know. Speaking of that kind of political, you said no more politics, Larry, but I did want to cover this today. You've probably heard that the Consumer Confidence Index and the consumer, what's that other one called? Uh, anyway, the not preference, I'm always forgetting that one, what it's called. But there's the consumer confidence and the other one, both of them down. Both of them are still in the slightly positive region, but they're not as confident as they were.
Consumer Price Index, I think.
Well, not consumer. I'm talking about the confidence. There's the other one
Oh,
is the consumer. I could do the same thing. I could look it up on my
yeah, I'm trying to look it up for you.
consumer.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they were both showing that confidence is down, even though it's above. It's positive, but it's down from where it was. But you got to look inside the numbers. And it turns out if you look inside the numbers, it's heavily skewed by political party, more than usual. So,
Consumer, yeah.
so you have the
Consumer Sentiment Index.
sentiment. Yes, I got to
I've
read.
looked it up.
So the
That's the
consumer,
University of Michigan, yeah.
right. And so what you've got is you've got people that are politically oriented both ways. So the Republicans are looking past the chaos and saying, we think it's going to be great. And the Democrats are looking looking at the chaos and saying, "Oh my gosh, we're in trouble."
Mm.
Independents actually are not in the middle. The independents are looking past the chaos and saying it's going to be okay.
Then why is the balance of probability, why is the balance between them negative?
Well, it's not negative total. It's just down from where it was.
Down. Well, that's still not a good
Right.
indicator.
Right. Well, there was a lot more. Let's put it this way. I think even the Republicans are more nervous than they were the day after the election.
Well, the VIX is still at 21,
That is
22.
really, that's actually good. It was 29 earlier this week.
I know, but still 22 is not great.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, that's showing that there's definitely some concern about the chaos. Larry, as I look over the headlines over the last couple of days, what I'm seeing is that I think there's a sense, that's why I think why the VIX is down from 29 to 21 or 22 is because there's a sense that this is going to pass fairly soon.
Well, it depends on the Senate vote. If the Senate vote actually takes place on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, whatever date it is, and it's positive, I think that will definitely drop the panic, will
Right.
reduce the panic.
Right.
That will certainly have an impact because there was such doubt that they would be able to get a continuing resolution. And now that they're almost there, I think they're beginning to recover, and particularly as Chuck Schumer is not going to oppose it.
Right.
So it may be that on Monday we'll see quite a significant recovery.
And then we have is it Ottawa's premier Tom Ford? Is that his name?
He's not Ottawa. He's the central state. What is the main state? Geez.
We're
Well,
looking
the main city is Toronto. So it's no, the province that
Ontario,
Toronto is
Ontario.
Ontario. That's right. So he's Ontario.
Okay, so now he's all happy. He's being shown, talking good stuff about the U.S. and he's all, so I think this all blows over, Larry. I really do. I know I'm the optimist, but
Yeah, you are. You
I
are.
think we get to even before. Well, Tom Lee a little while ago was being interviewed on CNBC. He thinks that the tariff noise will be gone before April 2nd. He doesn't think it'll even get to April 2nd, and most of these things will have been decided.
I don't think so. I think we've got several rounds to go with Europe.
Yeah, Europe might be the last one, but maybe Canada and Europe are still. But Mexico, I'm not hearing anything from Mexico. I think they're on board.
You're the perpetual optimist. I think that we've got quite a few little battles to go, and particularly with, Vietnam, Thailand. Look, one thing that everybody should realize, there is no country that I know of where the United States does not have a deficit in the tariff regulations. No country. Every country I've looked at, and I've looked at about 20, 25 major trading partners,
Right.
in every case, with very little exception, there are exceptional products. Like, for example, there is a particular tax on some food stuff. It's called the chicken tax. It has to do with Europe, where we actually charge Europe more than they charge us, and that was a blip in the history. But other than that, there is no country I've found yet amongst all our trading partners, and I've looked at like a couple of dozen now, where we do not have a significant, not just a deficit, but a significant deficit in the tariffs. Now, you got to explain that to me. You got to explain in words of one syllable how we can end up, the United States ends up in the WTO, which was supposed to normalize these tariffs across the board, with a deficit with every single trading partner.
Okay.
How is that possible?
Okay, here you go. In simple, simple words. Since World War II, the United States has felt that it needs to be the mommy to all the other countries.
Well, that's true. And that was very true 70 years ago. It was very true in the 50s. And I understand that. But the WTO was not formed in the 50s.
Right.
That when we sat down and negotiated with the WTO, What were we thinking?
We were still thinking that the rest of the world needed the United States to be the mommy.
So, it's a pity that Trump negotiates the way he negotiates. Had it been me, I would have said, guys, we're no longer the mummy. We have to normalize every single one of these tariffs.
Right.
Without fail, every single one of these tariffs. Otherwise, we're going to create a blanket tariff and, let things fall where they may. I don't know that we have a trade, an imbalance of trade in our favor, a trade surplus with any major trading partner.
No, no, we have a deficit with all of them.
So it's time.
Yeah.
It's past time.
Yeah, Larry, I've, as you know, written a bunch of books on management, a bit, small business management. And I've read all these books about the right way to manage people or the right way to negotiate, et cetera. And it turns out after all that reading, I've come to this conclusion. There's a lot of different styles that work. There's the tough guy that works. There is the soft guy that works. There is the medium kind of,
You're absolutely right. I don't disagree. I just think that in international relations, it's much more complicated than in mano type of situations. But look, everybody's got their style. This president has his particular style. But, I wasn't able to catch up today because apart from traveling, I had a huge amount of backlog to get through based upon some of the meetings I had. And so one of the questions I would ask is, what's happening in Ukraine?
Oh, okay. Well, the Ukraine situation, as best I could tell, and I was looking at it right up to the time that we've come on, is that, is still kind of where it was 5 or 6 hours ago. Putin has said, look, I'm in, I'm good, I want to do this, but here are the things that I'm requiring. And the only thing that I saw that might have been looked at as kind of an update, but it was really what we expected anyway, was the Secretary of Defense saying that the Dunbar region is going to go to Russia. So I think we expected that.
Donbass. I'm not sure.
And
I hope this president won't say that.
yeah, that's what I heard. And then the other thing that was out was that the Kursk, is it in Russia?
Kursk, yeah.
Kursk. So the Kursk region, Putin said, look, I'll let all these people, all the soldiers go home. And he didn't say go home. I won't kill them, but they need to surrender.
They need to surrender. Yeah, but unfortunately, he's wrong. I mean, fortunately, he's wrong. There are no soldiers in the pocket there.
Oh, there's nobody left in. Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
I mean, it's his imagination. Probably his generals are reporting that they've captured all these, or that they've surrounded all these people.
I see.
But if prisoners of Russia are not well treated, many of them are killed summarily. And there is a terrible situation in the Donbass in 2014 where Russia talked a company, a large company of soldiers from Ukraine to surrender. They said they would give them a pass, and they massacred them. It's a very well documented event. And I don't know that they were Russians. I think they may have been partisan, the Ukrainian Russians. But Ukraine will never forget that. There are quite a few incidents that Ukraine, and prisoners have been massacred. So I don't think that's going to happen.
So the other thing was the European Union, but I can't tell you who said this. I can only tell you that I saw a headline some leader in the, whether it was NATO or whether it was European Union, saying that they're ready to get back and do business with Russia again if we can get this thing resolved.
Well, you're a glass half full guy, and I know that you make it sound so easy and simple, but I think this is round one of a 10-round fight.
Okay. Okay. So you don't think it'll end like over the weekend?
I don't think it will.
Okay. I would say that the sense out there from the press secretary, from Trump himself, from others, is that they're this close. Multiple times they've said that.
Has anybody, have you checked in with the Ukrainians?
Well, I thought they were the ones that had already agreed.
Well, they've agreed to sign a ceasefire, but they haven't agreed to a ceasefire with the terms that Russia's put on it.
Yeah, I don't know on that, Larry. I haven't heard anything.
I know that.
I'm saying I haven't heard anything from the.
Okay.
I haven't seen any headlines on.
Yeah, so by saying that the Ukrainians have agreed, they agreed a ceasefire without preconditions. These are preconditions, and these conditions are not. I don't think they'll agree to these preconditions.
Okay, all right. So that'll be interesting to see. But that would can be from the standpoint, if I stand back from the standpoint of the market, if we get a ceasefire, that would be a good thing for the markets. And of course, I think a good thing for the world, actually, if we get a ceasefire.
It would be wonderful to get a ceasefire, but not with Russian preconditions.
Right. Okay. So huge amount of conversation around the Model Q and or the stripped down Model Y that China all of a sudden started talking about the other day. Have you an opinion about this ongoing conversation?
My opinion is that it's probably not accurate.
Okay.
But
That there is no stripped down Chinese version?
it depends on what you mean by stripped down. If you're going to take $10,000 out, how the heck are you going to take $10,000 out by you're going to take all the seats and what are you going to take out of the car? You're going to take the tires and the seats out of the car. I mean, $10,000 is a gigantic sum of money.
Well, obviously a big thing would be batteries. You got to take out a bunch of batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to take out a bunch of batteries, you'll have to take out a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I do hope that they have developed a new model. That's what I hope. I don't think it would be great to have a model in an existing, but from a cost and from a speed point of view, maybe they've done that. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. Okay. Gold that you and I have been predicting for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We were just early again, Larry. I mean, they just
early.
The ex Fed chairman Summers Grok just did an analysis of his predictions, and he's right 25% of the time. I was thinking that
I think we do better than Larry Summers.
I think we do too, if you give us a little leeway in terms of timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So gold is over 3,000, so people are already predicting 4,000.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think that's a bit of a stretch because I think it depends on how optimistic you are on Trump's program. If you're optimistic on Trump's program, then we're not going to see gold, go up by more than another 10, maybe 15%. That would be a big stretch. If Trump is successful, gold could well, retreat. And it depends what you mean by success, I mean, he's going to declare success one way or the other. The question is, will it be a true success or will it be, a declaration of success?
Well, we have a declaration of success with oil down
Yes.
at 66 a barrel, gasoline falling rapidly. Eggs, I just got a call from Brian Wong a few minutes ago. He says they dropped another $1.25 in the last 3 days. So we're down to $4.12 a dozen, which is getting very close to, well, normal is between $1 and $2,
Yeah.
but they were at $8 in January. So this is a pretty significant drop. And of course, mortgage rates dropping every single week
I
since
thought mortgage rates ticked up today.
they might have ticked up today. I don't know if they were up or down for the week. I didn't look at the final number, but
Yeah,
they
I
had
thought.
actually been down as of yesterday. They were still down for this week. So those are pretty good. Those are pretty good victories that we can declare.
Yes, yes, they are. Mortgage and refinance rates today. 10 basis points under the 52-week average. Barely budged, but still decreased over the last year. Barely budged today.
Yeah, just but not that it matters a lot, but the question was whether they are down this week or not compared to last week.
Yeah, yeah.
But whatever they are, I think they're, as you said, well under last year and well under when Trump took office. So those
Yeah.
would all be very positive.
Well, actually, 30-year fixed down 3 points, 0.03, down from 6.84 down to 6.81,
Okay. All right.
which is actually quite a significant move for a day.
Okay.
Yeah. They're down across the board, and 30-year FHA is down 6 pennies, 6%, 0.06%. 30-year VA is down 0.06%, and 30-year fixed is down 0.03%. So that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
those kinds of things are not, of course, getting much mainstream media press.
Right.
But if
Well, mortgage rates need to drop by a whole point.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we need to get under 6%.
Right.
That's very important. But this is good progress.
Yes. Yes, it would actually put it right in the middle of where they've been over the last 100 years on average. So it's actually a good place. But to your point, people are expecting, well, they actually even need to get lower than that, Larry, to what do you want to call it, unlock a lot of the homes that are being held by people with 2 to 3% mortgages. I think you're going to need to be like in the fours to start getting those people to.
That's a reach. It's hard to
Yeah,
see
I know.
getting back to fours in the foreseeable future with the debt that we have, on our books. I think people are just going to have to eat the, difference.
Have you thought about this cry that Elon's been making recently about impeaching judges? Do you think this is realistic or do you think it's noise?
It's noise. To impeach a judge is a very high bar.
Okay.
I think 2 judges in our history have been impeached.
Well, federal judges? I think it's more than that.
Well, certainly in my
Okay.
lifetime, it's been 2.
Okay.
And it's really, really difficult to impeach a judge for political reasons because you need 2/3 of the Senate.
To impeach the judge. Okay.
Yeah. So the chances of it happening in our lifetimes is close to 0.
Okay. All right. Because that's kind of a daily cry now. I'm sure that Elon is very upset that his efforts are being at least interfered with by these judges. I suppose at some point this goes to the Supreme Court and they'll make some kind of a ruling. And
I think the biggest issue for the Republicans is the composition of the DC circuit. I think that is the biggest single impediment to an even-handed judiciary.
Right.
As long as the DC circuit is so heavily weighted against the Republicans, and as most of the litigation occurs in the DC circuit, most of the congressional or government action occurs in the DC area, that it's very heavily weighted against him. So I think that's the issue. That's the biggest issue. But the chances of impeaching a judge is close to zero. And I don't think judges are going to be intimidated by that cry, mainly because they know that there's no possibility
Yeah, yeah.
of an impeachment.
Yeah, so we got to get it to the Supreme Court. We got to get the question of the president's authority versus the judiciary's authority with regards to things as simple as time.
I think there's a simpler solution.
Yeah.
I think the president should choose very carefully an issue
Mhm.
that he knows he's going to get challenged on in the DC Circuit Court of Appeals,
Mhm.
and he should ignore them
Mhm.
and let it go to the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court opposes him, he should ignore them. He should use this famous Andrew Jackson line, Judge Marshall has made his ruling. Now let him enforce it.
Enforce. Okay. Well, he may have just done that with these, what do you call it? Not interns, the recent hires. So the recent hires, two judges have now decided to just tell them they have to immediately reinstate these hires. And I heard Katrina, is it Katrina? The press lady, press secretary.
Yeah, Karen, is it Karen? No, yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, I think it's Katrina.
I can look it up.
Yeah, she said, um, she basically said, I can't remember her quote, but she basically was saying, we're not going to go along with that. So this could be the test you're asking for, Larry.
Caroline,
Caroline, or
Caroline, yeah, Caroline.
Caroline.
Caroline with a K.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay, yeah. That's why
Well, it's not for the press secretary to say, but I think the president should say, Judge so-and-so has made his ruling, now let him enforce it.
right.
Because honestly, we've reached a point where there isn't an even-handed judiciary in the DC Circuit. And if it then goes up to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court tells him to do it, I think he should come back at them with the issue of the composition of the DC Circuit, because it's actually impossible for a Republican government to govern.
With that court, yeah.
So because of the structure of the court and because it's now impossible for the Republican government to govern, he should give serious thought to moving the White House
Okay.
out of DC or challenging the power of the DC Circuit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. You're a real rebel today. I don't hear anybody else.
I think there is a constitutional crisis that we're facing, and the constitutional crisis is the packing of the DC Circuit. And time will tell. Let's see what happens. But I think this is a good time to challenge it.
So, Larry, the other conversation I wanted to have with you today had to do with this business of, Tesla, how it's being impacted. We talked about Kim Kardashian, the president, giving Tesla a huge boost. I think that was on Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday. But you were talking to me about the Google searches. So talk to me about Google searches.
Yeah, I don't want to gazump my friend Farzad, who did most of the searches. I worked with him. But the truth of the matter is we've actually seen other people do it online. And basically, if you look up Google searches for buy a Tesla versus sell my Tesla, there has been a blip of people who are looking to sell their Teslas. But the blip of buy a Tesla is at an all-time record. All-time record. And we've done that search in many different ways in many different countries across the world. And it's consistent that there's been this enormous spike of interest in buying a Tesla. and there's been a little spike of interest in selling a Tesla. So that's encouraging.
Well, Larry, back just a few weeks ago, we were saying that we thought that Elon should at least take a commercial in the Super Bowl. I think I
He
think he
did a little bit better than
a
that.
little bit better than that. And now it's being carried forward by Hannity and by
Yes.
Kilmeade and
Yeah.
by all these other guys. And
But you know what was interesting about that event, more than anything else, and I know this people have talked about the event at length, both negatively and positively. But the most interesting thing was the surprise that Trump had when he got in the car. It's all computer, famously he said. But that is the surprise that I think, that will open a lot of eyes to just how different, just how the game has changed and how the product is different. And I think that will open a lot of eyes. And you and I have spoken about sales in Middle America. This has been a theme of yours for some time, actually for years now. So I think this is a very important moment, very important moment. And what the president did grossly offset what the former uh, guy had to say. I mean, it is amazing that Biden was absent without leave for most of his presidency, but he was able to stick it to Tesla, to Elon. It's amazing. And, once you bring that kind of personal, and here's the thing about it. If you go back to the beginning of the Biden administration, Elon wasn't that political.
no, no,
I mean, he gave Biden no reason
except
to
he was
turn.
non-union, just non-union. That was the
Yeah, but I mean, that became such a political issue. And, so everybody who's angry at Elon for becoming political, everybody who says that, it's costing the company and it's not good for the company, blah, blah, blah. I mean, how good was it for the company for the President Biden to absolutely ignore them? You know?
yeah. So it turns out, Larry, I did a poll on X, and I asked the question: do you think that Musk's involvement in politics is a net positive or net negative? And 65% said net positive. And
Well,
this
I'm not surprised on X, but, blue sky.
no, but this would be Trump. This would be Musk's supporters. These would be people who are probably, own. I asked that it only be stockholders. So stockholders that follow my channel at least or follow my thread said they thought it's net positive.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's very interesting, but time will tell. I mean, your followers are pretty rabid lot.
I don't know. Well, so yeah, so if a person was to think it through in detail, you have
Mm.
to add up this business of will it attract more Republicans than it is getting rid of Democrats? So that's one question. But you also have the question of is his presence in the White House a
Yeah.
positive for the company? And I have to think that his presence in the White House has to be a net positive for such things as regulation, for the future of the country, all those kind of things. It's a big positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's a huge positive for the country. Huge positive for the country, which over time will be a huge positive for Tesla because we are in a real crisis. It's not recognized as a crisis. Our financial standing in the world is potentially, country threatening. It's potentially threatening it's an existential crisis, and people will thank him later.
Yeah, yeah. That's what he's counting on, right?
Yeah.
Superman, had some people that didn't like him. Or Iron Man. I guess even better because he was kind of a little odd like Elon. So Iron Man had a lot of folks that didn't particularly care for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
But
Larry,
I criticized Elon for getting involved politically before the Trump assassination attempt, and he pushed back very hard against me. But after the assassination attempt, I changed my views
Hmm.
because I began to realize just how serious the situation was in the country. And it wasn't just because of the assassination attempt, but it opened my eyes to the opportunity of bringing in a leader like Trump, who, and the level of Trump's um, what is the word I'm looking for? His integrity
Mhm.
from a point of view of his commitment to the country and his desire to have the country succeed was proven to me in the most you know in the clearest possible way.
Right.
So yeah, I changed my views, and it's a tough journey we're on. Very tough to live it. I hope I don't have my Cybertruck damaged. I hope my family are not threatened in any way. But it is what it is. We've lived through this before, and I've lived through tougher times, and we'll survive this.
So it's interesting what you just said because it made me think because I don't ever block anybody. And so my algorithm, I think, is about split between liberals and conservatives. So I see all the liberal fire that's
I
being,
don't think a lot of people, liberals follow you.
no, no, I'm not saying follow, but when I'm just
Yeah.
scrolling, I would say it's about 50-50.
Yeah.
And so I see all of the arguments and all of the diatribes and all of the negatives. I think it's probably hard, maybe for people on the right too, but certainly for people on the left, to imagine that a politician would be doing it, would be doing what they're doing for the good of the country, for the good of the people. I think it's hard for them to see an oligarch like Elon, multi-billionaire, doing it just for the good of the country, doing it because he feels that's the right thing to do. I think that's hard for people to picture. I think there's enough
Right.
cynicism that who would do that?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I think that's part of what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all expecting ulterior motives.
Oh, there's a deep hatred of people who are wealthy. There's deep hatred.
Yeah.
And so those people who have nurtured this hatred, and the hatred has been, fairly carefully nurtured by the education system in this country. So there are a lot of them, and they do get a little carried away. Not a little, they get a lot carried away. Some of the hatred you see and some of the actions you see are just extraordinary. Just extraordinary.
So we had a good end to the week.
Yes.
And we'll see whether we can carry forward. We've already talked about almost 100. I think the only thing we didn't mention was crypto was also up about 4,000 last time I checked.
Yep.
So it had a good day as well. So we end the week with on a good note. And if Elon doesn't if Trump doesn't announce that he wants to annex Italy, let's say, for instance, over the weekend, maybe we'll have a good beginning as well.
Yeah. So did you see Greenland voted to separate from Denmark?
I know. I know.
Interesting moment. Interesting.
So interesting. Larry, as always, thanks for coming on and helping us think through what's going on right now. Not a ton of Tesla news at this exact moment, but just wait a week. There's always something coming around the corner.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
All right. Take care, Randy. Happy weekend, everybody.
Yeah, and to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.